Hello everyone, in this tutorial video we are going to cover another topic, which is floors. So if we are constructing a multi-story building, then we have several stories in that building. So that story is basically the floor, that is resembling the floor. So if we are having a 12-story building, 13-story building, then all these 12, 13, 14, they are indicating basically the floors. Okay, so whatever be the cases, like if we are applying the dead loads, live loads on any structure, let's say residential building, then if you look into the load propagation, then at first the load is applied on the floor, then from that floor the load propagates and goes to the beam, then from the beam to the column, then from the column to the footings, and then finally to the soil. So this is the path of the load transfer. So at first the load is needed to be applied on the floor, whether it is dead load or live load depending upon what is the type of load. So the basic thing is that if we are constructing a multi-story building, then we need to at first determine what it's need to be, like how many stories is going to be constructed, and that means the floors. Okay, so what is basically a floor? That is a surface which is at the very bottom of the base of the room, on which the various dead loads are being kept, and there are moving loads also on that floor, and that is basically the floor, as you can see in this diagram. So if we basically go into the detail of the flooring system, then in the American terminologies, this ground floor is known as the first floor, then we have second floor, and finally we have the roof. But in the British terminologies that we mainly follow in India, we have at first the ground floor, below of that we have got basement, and then we have got first floor and the roof, and if they are further story, then we can say second story or third story building. So this is the main difference between the British and the English. Next, we basically classify the floors into two categories. First is the ground floor, and the next is the upper floor. Okay, so this is the same diagram that we have seen in the previous, that since we are following the English nomenclature, therefore the whatever the ground which is close to the surface of the earth, that we see it as a ground floor, and then we say it is as a first floor, second floor, and third floor. But is different in the English terminology. That is the main difference between the English and the British. Next, if we look into the first, the ground floor, then that floor which is obviously that is in the immediate above of the ground, that is known as the ground floor. Okay, and below of it, if we have constructed any basement like that, then that will be a basement story, and above of that ground floor there will be several floors, like first floor, second floor, and the consecutive floors, and at the top we will going to have a roof. So basically this ground floor is being categorized into these following types of flooring. So there are different types of the floors depending upon what are the constituent material that we are using in order to make that floor. So depending upon that, we have these following categories of the ground floor, which includes mud flooring, brick, mosaic, granulithic, rubber, and so many. And that obviously depends upon what are the material actually we are using in order to construct the ground floor. So let's quickly move to the ground floor. In that we have first category of the mud flooring. This is the most common mud flooring that we have seen in our day-to-day life also, that flooring which is being made by the help of using a mud or a soil, that is known as the mud flooring. Similarly, we can use muram also in order to make or just give a top finishing to this floor. This is the most common type of the flooring of the ground floor, that is mud flooring. After that we have brick flooring, when we used to use brick either on flat, either which they are flatly laid or they are laid on a edge, we have a brick flooring. Okay, next we have a mosaic flooring. If you are using a mosaic flooring, which are the which are made from the small pieces of the stones. So this is a picture of a mosaic flooring. So if you are using that mosaic on the ground floor, then it will be a mosaic flooring. Next we have got a granulithic flooring. In this that is the floor that is being made by using the cement concrete, which is mainly used for the finishing purpose, and that makes the surface resistance to the wear and tear that is caused by the abrasive action when we move across this surface. And this type of flooring is known as granulothic flooring. Okay, next type of flooring is the obviously rubber flooring. That type of flooring that can withstand high volume of foot traffic, and they have again water resistance so that they won't get damaged by the moisture or spills. So they are mainly made up of rubber. So if you are using such type of flooring, that comes under the rubber flooring. Next we have linoleum flooring. This linoleum is a resilient flooring material that gets compressed and it bounces back if we just hop around this type of material. Next we have marble flooring. This is again a very common type of flooring if you are using marble on the ground floor as a protective layer for the floor. So this such type of flooring comes under the marble flooring. It is bit expensive in comparison to the other type of flooring materials. Next is the flagstone flooring or the store flooring. Here we are basically using the flagstone on the ground floor. So if such type of stone is present, then it comes under the flagstone flooring. Next is the timber flooring. Again, if you are using a timber or wooden like material on the ground floor as which acts as a flooring material, then that comes under the timber flooring. Similarly, if we can also use bamboo flooring on the ground floor. Next we have got terrazzo flooring. Here basically terrazzo is a composite material that is being made by pouring uh, of a precast which is used for the floor as well as wall treatment, and that consists of chips or marbles or quartz or glass like materials. So this is an example of a terrazzo flooring. Next we have tile flooring. This is cheap in comparison to the marble flooring. Here we are using ceramic stones and baked glass in order to cover the floor of our room. So such type of flooring can also be used widely. Such type of flooring mainly used in the washroom or bathroom, and they are basically not used in the living rooms. In the living room mainly we go for the marbles. Okay, next this is also very common cement concrete flooring. In this case we are just pouring down the cement concrete on the floor, and we are not using any kind of stones or the expensive material over the top surface of this. So this is the again very common type of flooring. Then we have got glass flooring. If you are using glass materials over the top of the floor, then that comes under the glass floor. Again, the quality of this glass would be quite strong, and its toughness would also be strong because they have to withstand the huge amount of load. Next is the plastic or PVC flooring. This type of flooring you might have used in your house on the floor if there are certain cracks or holes on the floor. Then you can go for this PVC type of flooring, which this again comes in various colors, textures, and accordingly you can just put them on the floor. Similarly, for the badminton of courts, we use such type of PVC type of flooring. Next is the upper floor. So till now we have seen all types of the ground floor. So these were the mainly the ground floors where we could use all these different types of materials. Next we will go for the upper floor. Upper floor consists of all the floors apart from the ground floors, and then we basically categorize them into these following six categories, which includes timber floor, jack floor, arch floor, floor of steel joist, filler joist, strip floor, and precast concrete floor. So these are the basics six classification of the upper floor depending upon what type of material we are using in order to construct the upper floor. So that upper floor consists of first story, second story, third story, and it doesn't include the ground floor. So that's the basic difference between the ground floor and the upper floor. So let's quickly move to the timber floor. So in the timber floor basically we will are going to have a timber flooring on the floor. So if timber is present, then that goes under the timber flooring, and we basically categorize that timber flooring into three parts: single joist, double joist, or triple joist, depending upon how many number of joists we are actually providing in the upper story. So let's move at first to the single joist type of flooring. So if we just look into the actual view of how it looks like, so this is the actual depictive representation of a single joist timber floor. Here we actually have provided joist to these wooden logs. As you can see here, these are the joist. Okay, so this is the same diagram as you are seeing it right now. These are the joists. These yellow colors are the joists which are being provided, and there is certain spacing or gaps which is being maintained between both of these joists, and there is also a given cross section of these joist also. But most importantly, spacing, that is such type of single joist timber floor is only specified if the this length is below 3 meter. So okay, so if you go into the specification of this single joist timber floor, then you will find that this short span length should always be less than 4 meter. If that's the case, then only we will go for the single joist flooring. If it is greater than 4 meter, let's say 6 meter, 7 meter, or greater than 4 meter, then we will go for the double or the triple joist type of floor. So at first we will go to the single joist type of the timber floor. So here again we have got the span less than 4 meter, and the distance between the two joist is 30 to 40 centimeter. So it is basically talking about this distance between two consecutive joint that should be between 30 to 40 centimeter. Okay, this is the distance. So if you just look into the plan, this is the distance, that is 30 to 40 centimeter, that is in that it is telling about. Okay, next there are certain specifications regarding the herringbone shuttering, which says that when the span exceeds the 2.5 meter, then in order to give the extra strength we must provide the herringbone shuttering. So as you can see here, this is the herringbone shuttering that we have provided if the span of the shorter length is greater than 2.5 centimeter but less than 3 meter, then we should provide this herringbone that provides the extra stability to such kind of the floor. So that was the single joist type of the floor. But if we look into the double joist type of the timber floor, then this is one of the typical diagram of the double joist type of floor. In this you can see that these blue colors are the binders, and these are the yellow colors are the joist, and the distance between two is taken to be 300 mm, and the span of this shorter duration is taken to be between 3.6 to 7.5 meter. And if this distance is greater than this, then we will go for the 3 or the frame joist timber floors. So in this case again we have got binders, and the distance between them is kept between 1.8 to 2.4 meter. Distance between the joist is kept to be 300 mm, and since it is double joist, so as you can see here, these are the two joist, joist 1, joist 2. Here it is a partition. Again this is joist 1, this is joist 2, this is 1 2, and this is 1 and 2. So here we have used two joists, that's why it is known as double joist timber floor. So again if you look into the specification of this double joint timber floor, then we will find that the spans is between 3.5 to 7.5. So if the span is this, then we will go for this double joist type of floor. Again the distance between the two of the joists is taken to be 30 centimeter, and similarly other specifications are also given for this double joist type of flooring. But if the distance between these shorter span exceeds the 7.5 meter, then we will go for this triple joist timber floor. Okay, in this we have provided a girder over here and a girder over here, and we have provided binders perpendicular to this girder. Okay, these are the girders, and these yellows are the joists. So this is set 1, this is set 2, and this will be set 3 over here. That's why it is triple joist timber floor. Again we will have similar specification related to the structure of the floor. The distance of the span is greater than 7.5. As you can see that if it is greater than that, then we will go for the triple joist type of flooring, and similarly the specifications are given over here as I have explained over here. So if you basically look at overview of how these three joists look like, then this is single, this is double, and that is triple joist type of frame. Here the distance is of the smallest span is less than 3.6 to 7.5, and here it is greater than 7.5. So these are the basically three types of the timber flooring timber floors, that is single, double and triple joist type of flooring that we go for if you are constructing a two-story, three-story type of building. Then this comes under the timber floor. The next type of the upper floor consists of jack arch floor. So in the jack arch floor, so let me show you a diagram. So this is a type of a jack arch floor. I think most of you have seen such type of floor in your granny's or a very old construction building. Such type of arches has been constructed, and these are the girders that have been provided. And such type of floors, if it is present in any building, that comes under the jack arch type of the floor. Again, there are certain specifications regarding that. It is like that we have provided this is the arch that I was talking about. This is the arch. Okay, this is the material over there. Similarly, this is the arch, and this is the plasters and the bricks that have been provided, and this is the jacks that have been provided over there, that is rolled steel joist. Okay, this is the concrete material, this is the arch bridge, and these are and this is one of the steel rod that has been placed in this. So if a certain type of structure is being found in any type of the building, then that will come under this arc jack arch type of the floor. It is known as jack because it has been hung like a jack. Similarly, we used to similarly hung our car on the jack. That's why it's look like that. That's why we say it as a jack. And arch because it is shape is like a arch. Okay. The next type of the upper floor is the floor of steel joist and flagstone. Again, there are certain specifications regarding that. In this case, we are using steel joist. So as you can look over here, these are the steel joists that we have embedded in our upper floor, and certain flagstones have been also been provided over here. Okay, so these are the specifications regarding the steel joist and the flagstone. And since flagstone is available in abundance, so we can go for the flagstone if you are constructing the upper floor. Here the beams are spaced at 2 to 3 meters center to center. These are the beams that have been planes. The beams will be like that, which will be placed longitudinally to each of them, and they will be at a distance of 2 to 3 meters center to center. So and if the span is more than 4 meter, then this rolled steel bars, that rolled steel bars that we have discussed in our previous slide. Okay, if you just go to the ppt of steel, then you will find this rolled steel section. Okay, so these rolled steel beams of the required section are placed below the steel joist to support this joist. So you can see here that a steel beam over that have been placed below of this joist in order to support this beam. So if such type of a structure is present, then we say it as a floor of a steel joist because we have provided a steel joist over there, steel beam, and these are the rolled steel sections. Okay, so so next type of the upper floor is the filler joist type of the floor. Okay, in this type of the floor we have actually basically providing the rolled steel joist. Okay, these are the RS rolled steel joist that we have embedded in the upper stories. This is the distance between the intermediate spans that is recommended to be kept between 45 to 90 centimeters center to center, and then we are just filling this gap with the filler materials like cement, concrete, and then we are constructing the upper floor. So that comes under the filler joist type of floor. Next is fifth is the roof floor or the hollow block. So this is again a very common type of the upper floor that you will find, and the basic principle behind construction of such type of hollow block is regarding the construction of these hollow blocks or the roof floors. So why we are basically providing a hollow section over here, because we know that concrete is strong in compression but weak in tension. So but if you move towards the center of this concrete structure, then you will find that the concrete below the neutral axis is considered to have no tensile value. So if you actually no, actually you might not know what is neutral axis. So neutral axis is a axis, let's say suppose this is a neutral axis. Okay, let me just draw it for you. Let us suppose that this is a neutral axis. At this neutral axis there is no compression force and no um, tensile force. Okay, so below of this axis it is being seen that no tensile value are there. Okay, so if we are applying a load over here, that will bend like this in a concave form, hence upper part will be in compression and below part will be in tension. Okay, so since below of this neutral axis there is no any tension value except the shear stresses, for that we are putting the stirrups. So we can actually just remove certain portion of the concrete and that will not at all affect to the stability of the concrete. So in doing so, certain type of blocks, type of structures are being created that basically reduces the amount of concrete that we basically use in order to construct such type of concrete without the hollow construction. So these are the hollow construction that you can see over here, and there are certain consideration regarding the what should be the minimum sizes and shape depending upon what is the exact position of the neutral axis. So we can just work out on that, and just civil engineer will get an idea where the neutral axis is there, and then on the basis of that certain section could be removed without actually affecting the strength of the concrete floor. Okay, and the third and the last thing is that if we want to construct all certain kind of hollow structure, we can just go for this steel form. Okay, what we used to do, we just used to place this steel form under this hollow section, and then we will just place the concrete over there, and when it gets solidifies, then we will remove this foam from there, and this will give this hollow structure or hollow gap over there. So we have not just removed certain section, but we have just formed a hollow section on the basis of the calculation that below of this section there will be hollow section, and there will be no any tensile value, only shear value. And again, these are things just calculation point of view. When you will calculate the neutral axis, then you will get an idea that where should be the where how much height should be the this steel form. So if you are going to study the RCC, there you will study about the T beam, where the neutral axis there, above the neutral axis, below the neutral axis, depending upon that we will calculate the bending, shear and everything. So you will study all these things in the RCC. Okay, and the last is the precast concrete floor. In the precast concrete floor, what we are doing, whatever the concrete floor that we need to just place on the upper floor, we are just constructing all those concrete floor in the factory, and just we are assembling those precasted concrete on the site. So that actually saves a hell amount of time during the construction, because during the construction it will mainly grasp more amount of time constructing these concrete floors. So if by some ways if we could construct these concrete floors on some other place and assemble that concrete place at the site, then actually this saves hell amount of time. So such type of the concrete floors are also available, and we can just go for such type of floors for the upper floors. Okay, so just coming to the last slide, there are certain selection criteria for the flooring material. We have seen various type of flooring materials, so there are certain criteria that what should affect the selection of what type of material we should go for if we are constructing the flooring ground floor of the upper story buildings. So that is the initial coat, cleanliness, thermal insulation, comfort, cleanness, appearance, damp resistance, smoothness, fire resistant, durability. So there are certain criteria which is being required. For example, if you are living in a if you just want to construct a hospital, okay, let's take a for example, then you want to construct a floor which permits less transmission of the noise from one floor to another, that creates a more environment which cuts the noise from the external, such that operation can be performed in a noise free environment. So we will go for the sound insulation type. So there the criteria is governed by where we are actually constructing those floors. So these are the selection criteria which affects the material which we are actually using for the construction of upper floor or the ground floor in any residential, commercial, complex type of building. Okay, so that's for today. Thank you for watching, and the next tutorial video we are going to study about the wall and concrete masonry structure. Okay, thank you.